Angelicus and its Equations Spurbs.
Hello and welcome to Spurbs Herbs, episode 97. We are doing episode 97. We're coming up close to that 100. And today we're going to be talking about Sāng Yè, Mori Folium, or White Mulberry Leaf. So without further ado, let's get into it. We have a lot to cover today. So today we will be exploring another interesting Chinese herb, Sāng Yè, Mori Folium, or White Mulberry Leaf. This herb is in the Chinese medical subcategory of cool acrid herbs that release the exterior under the category of release the exterior herbs. It is helpful for certain types of colds and helps the eyes, among other functions for this relatively commonly used herb. And as usual, we will be exploring something a little different. We're going to be discussing science and why it is important in today's society. Stay tuned for another interesting episode. Before we get into that, I wanted to talk about a fantastic deal we're doing. We are starting an amazing special for our courses. If you use them for continuing education, professional development, or just for your own edification, we're offering 50 hours of courses for an unbelievable price. Normally, this would cost $750. However, with the special code 50CEUs, that's 50CEUS, this is going to be only $325, or only $6.50 per hour. Plus, you can get a free signed copy of one of my books. Just pay for shipping and handling. This is a free copy of Integrative Pharmacology, combining modern pharmacology with integrative medicine, or Playing the Game, a step-by-step approach to accepting insurance as an acupuncturist. Just go to the webpage www.integrativemedicinecouncil.org/CEUS1, CEUS1. So it's Integrative Medicine Council, COUNCIL.org/CEUS1 for this amazing deal. Okay, so it's been a while since I have talked about just a pure opinion piece during this little something different portion. While I was working on the last Spurbs Herbs episode on kratom, I came across an organization called the American Kratom Association. This is an organization dedicated to promoting kratom. It seems like it is paid for by the manufacturers of kratom, and the only obvious revenue stream on their website was their GMP Good Manufacturing Practice program, which has an initial fee of $5,000. So that's how the only way I saw that they got money. They have a very prominent page of approved, quote unquote, approved manufacturers of kratom, and a lot of information about them all being GMP approved. This is odd since in the United States, all supplement manufacturers need to be GMP compliant, and is more of a paperwork thing than anything denoting quality of product. So it supports quality of product, but it's a paperwork thing. So why am I saying all of this? First, this association seems to be entirely funded by manufacturers. And second, the articles and statements on their websites are the best example of anti-science I have ever seen, or maybe one of. Basically, all of their articles are some form of trying to answer the criticisms of kratom by twisting scientific findings and governmental proclamations. And they use classic propaganda approaches to do so. Beautiful personal testimonies, basically saying it works for me, who cares if it hurts other people. Well-designed and visually gorgeous fact sheets, quote unquote fact sheets, that don't really say anything. And of course, only showing their case and never any dissenting or contrary information. The overall impression I got was the website seemed like it was put together by addicts trying to promote their lifestyle and funded by the drug dealers making money off of them. And I wanted to talk about it because I was getting angry about it. And it shows a problem for those who use and recommend herbs like us. I was getting angry because it was using science against itself. Let me be clear. It was obvious to anyone with a background in science this was an incredibly biased attempt at advocacy. My issue is My issue is it wouldn't be that obvious to non-scientists. I don't mean this to be patronizing. I have brilliant, educated, close friends who I admire and respect, and I see them fall for these kinds of scams. I use the word bias, and bias is one of the most important words in science. Yes, science has the scientific method. It talks about eliminating variables and testing appropriate hypotheses, etc. This is all to minimize one thing: bias. Bias is both a verb and a noun. According to Oxford Languages, it has several definitions. Here are important ones for our discussion. Noun: 1, prejudice in favor of or against one thing, person, or group compared with another, usually in a way considered to be unfair. A concentration on or interest in one particular area or subject. 2, again under noun, is statistics, a systematic distortion of a statistical result due to a factor not allowed for in its derivation. That's pretty technical. And then as a verb, there are 2 definitions that I have here. 1, cause to feel or show inclination or prejudice for or against someone or something. And again, the second one is the statistics ones: distort a statistical result, introduce bias into a method of sampling, measurement, analysis, etc. By these definitions, it is obvious bias is something we want to avoid, especially when assessing a scientific question. In my course, Interpreting Chinese Medical Research, I discuss this in the context of why we do research. Research is conducted to answer questions. These questions are really important in developing a trial, and there are protocols to help create them, such as the FINER model, which stands for feasible, interesting, novel, ethical, and relevant. The biggest problem in answering a question is eliminating bias. We all have biases, and they can be deep-rooted, sub or even unconscious, and can prevent one from understanding a problem, creating fair, accurate, and useful research, and prevent proper interpretation. A great site that explains different types of biases is https://catalogofbias.org/biases, B-I-A-S-E-S. So catalogofbias.org/biases. There's a great list of all kinds of different biases. And I want to make it clear, science does not eliminate bias. We all have them. Scientists have them. Research has them. Bias is there. What we're trying to do is minimize the bias. We want to eliminate it. We want to strive towards eliminating bias. But most importantly, we need to minimize it, make it very, very small. So bringing this back to that website of the American Kratom Association, it reeks of bias. Frankly, that isn't an issue in and of itself. We all have biases and pretty much live in them all of the time. The issue is when we self-select our news and information sources to amplify our biases rather than question them and ourselves. This creates extremism, which is basically, I am right, everyone else is wrong, and I'm going to be aggressive and possibly unethical in making sure the world does what I know it needs to do. That's extremism. And it's in everywhere. Like, I had this sudden epiphany a long time ago when I was working with the board, the California Acupuncture Board. I was attending their meetings all the time, and at one point I started as the president of the California Association, and then the California Society of California State Oriental Medical Association, and then later as I was in schools, involved with schools, and being their representative to the California Acupuncture Board. And there's one person that was there, and it finally hit on me why he drove me nuts. It wasn't what he was saying, because some of it I agreed with, some of it I didn't, but some of it I did. It was the fact that he was an extremist, that he was right and everyone else was wrong, and they didn't have a right to their own opinion. That was what extremism was. And it hit me as a burst that extremism is in so many different places, and it all comes down to, I'm right, you're wrong, and you don't have the right to question me or to say you have to do what I tell you to do because I'm right. That is extremism. And the internet can make these impulses stronger. The antidote to that is science. Relatively, again, remember I said you can't be completely unbiased, but relatively unbiased approaches to answering questions. I would also add it is the opposite to extremism because at its core, it says evidence should lead our opinions, not be the result of them. Our society needs more science, not less. And science is always the target of extremists. They are opposite positions. Science says the truth of our universe is primary, whether or not that challenges our belief systems. Extremism says our belief systems are primary, whether or not truth supports them. We are in an era of extremism right now. I think this is because of the internet amplified by politics and the lack of accepting people and thoughts that may challenge ourselves. I rail against our current political situation in the US, not because of who our president is right now, but because we are not having conversations, trying to search for the truth and reducing bias. As an herbalist and medical professional, I think this type of extremism is present in our profession and has been for as long as I have been in it. There have always been extremists in our profession. The reason that website bothered me so much is I've seen all of its approaches before. Marijuana before it became legal in so many areas. Manufacturers promoting their current herb supplement they are hawking. And those professionals who are not sure who are sure whatever system they are involved with is the only system that actually works, and every other system, especially biomedicine, should just disappear. Science is the antidote to extremism. We need to promote it, not minimize or eliminate it. So that's my opinion piece there. And there is, I think we should be careful about extremism in our midst. Every profession has it. There's a lot, I would say, in biomedicine. Like if you go to any of the biomedical skeptic sites, I mean, I do that because I want to know what they're saying. And I want to challenge myself, of course. But oh my God, some of the stuff they say is so ignorant. It's just as ignorant as any other extremist is. And so we need to, every profession has this extremism and we need to root it out. And I was really, if it wasn't the source, the information they had at this website, this Kratom website, I wish I could have used in my last episode on Kratom, but I couldn't because of the source. And so I just didn't trust it at all. Okay, let's clear ourselves. Thank you. I got a little huffy there. Believe me, I can get a lot more huffy, but that was a little bit huffy. Let's get into our herb today, Sāng Yè. And before we do, we have an herbal legend. This is from the book Chinese Herbal Legends by Junju, and they have 50 herbs. I'm not even gonna say 50 most common herbs because there were some herbs that I thought were like super common. Definitely I'd put in the top 10. Were not in that book. But so 50 herbs, and so when we can, I like to include those in our Superbs Herbs podcast. So here we go. This is from that on Sāng Yè. A long time ago, on a mountain called Yaoshan, lived a single mother and her son. The son was a nice lad. His name was Damu. He always took good care of his mother. They made their living by growing crops, and their life was not bad. One fall, after a lot of rains, the mother was ill in bed. She felt dizzy and was coughing every day. To cure his mother, Damu went everywhere to find the right medicines. However, although half a month passed, the mother was still very ill, and Damu was very upset. One day, Damu was told that there was a monk who practiced medicine during his free time and who lived in a temple on Yaoshan. Damu was so happy about the good news that he wanted to carry his mother on his back to see the monk. However, his mother would not go because she thought it was too far to go and that it would definitely hurt her son's back to carry her. My son, you're already too tired from searching for herbs. Yaoshan is a big mountain. The road to the temple is pretty steep, and it is impossible for you to carry me by yourself. No problem, Mom. If I am tired, we could rest. I've heard that the monk is really good at medicine. He knows lots of prescriptions. Son, I believe you, but I couldn't walk there by myself, and the temple is too far away for you to carry me. You will get hurt if you take me there on your back. Maybe you can go to see the monk first and bring back the herbs. Let's try that, okay? Mom, just do as I say. Don't worry about me. I can take care of myself. Before starting out, Damu boiled water and put it in a big container for his mother to drink. However, he forgot to put the lid on the container because he left in a hurry. A few hours later, the mother was thirsty and wanted to drink some water. When she reached the container, she found there were several mulberry leaves inside it. She told herself, the wind in the fall is really strong. It blew so many leaves into this water. After drinking the water, the old lady went to sleep. When she woke up, she felt better, and the pain in her head was greatly relieved. She drank another cup of water. It was sunset. The white clouds in the sky were dyed almost red by the sunlight, as was Xiao Shan. What a beautiful scene. At this time, Damu came back. Sweat was pouring down his face when he opened the door. Are you okay, Mom? I feel better now. Did you get the medicine? Bad luck. The monk wasn't in the temple when I got there. He had gone somewhere else. I will go see him tomorrow. You look tired. Eat your dinner and go to bed early. I am okay. Let's have our dinner. I don't want to eat. It's strange. I feel better after drinking the water, and I want more of it. The next morning, after getting up, the mother told Damu she was recovered and wanted to take a walk. Damu was totally confused. Mom, did you eat some medicine? Not at all. I just drank some water. Did you put something into the water? Nothing but a few mulberry leaves which had been blown into the container. Looking at the leaves in the water, Damu couldn't help but wonder that maybe the mulberry leaves cured his mother's illness. After eating breakfast, Damu boiled water, picked some leaves from the mulberry tree, and put them into the water. He then went to see the monk. The monk first asked a lot of detailed questions about his mother's illness. Then the monk told Damu that he could put some frost mulberry leaves gathered after a frost, into water and boil it. Damu was so excited when he was told this prescription because he finally understood that the frost mulberry leaves were actually an effective herb, and that was why his mother had recovered by drinking the water. There you go. That is the herbal legend of Sāng Yè. Okay, so let's get into the herb proper. So Sāng Yè is from the family Moriaceae, and this is actually the first time we've actually discussed this family, so we're going to talk about that in just a minute. Standard species is Morus alba L. The L in this case stands for Linnaeus, and as we've talked about before, Linnaeus is considered the one who created the categorization system, and why it only has one letter, L, as his, referring to him. So he was the one who actually put this into its category. The medicinal part that we're talking about here is the leaf. What's interesting about the mulberry bush is that several parts of the bush are actually helpful and are different herbs in the Chinese tradition. So in this case, we're just talking about the leaf. In English, Sāng Yè actually means mulberry leaf, or if you want to be, you could say white mulberry leaf, but that is the translation of Yè is leaf and Sāng means mulberry. Other names include silkworm mulberry, dongsang, Sāng Yè, and in Japanese soyo, and in Korean Sāng Yè. So, what's interesting about this is the first name here is silkworm mulberry, and what the silkworm, the reason why mulberry and the Mori tree is so important in Chinese history and in herbology is because silkworms eat the mulberry leaves, and silkworms are an important economic product in China. So very interesting, silk is. Okay, let's talk about the Moriaceae family. The Moriaceae family is also known as the mulberry or fig family and consists of approximately 38 genera and over 110 species. These are flowering plants that have only one synomorphy. Okay, before we talk about that one synomorphy, synomorphy is an apomorphy shared by two or more taxa and is therefore hypothesized to have evolved in their most recent common ancestor. Okay, that was technical stuff. Basically, this is the thing that kind of sets them apart from species that came before. That's a synomorphy. And they only have one synomorphy, and that is the presence of lactifers, a type of secretory cell creating latex and rubber and milky sap. While not completely universal, most have two carpels, the female sex organ, compound flowers, and fruits. Many fruits are part of this family, including fig, banyan, breadfruit, jackfruit, osage orange, and of course our current plant, the mulberry. Bensky, and so remember we have three major textbooks that we use when we look at single Chinese herbs. We have Bensky et al., Chen and Chen, and Brown and Wiseman. So Bensky et al. Say the dosage is 4.5 to 9 grams. Chen and Chen say it's 5 to 10 grams, with a maximum of 50 grams and 100 grams of fresh leaves may be used. So 50 grams dried leaves, 100 grams fresh leaves. That's a lot from a Chinese dosing point of view. And Brown and Wiseman say the dose is 5 to 10 grams. The category, Bensky and his team put this herb in the cool acrid herbs that release the exterior subcategory under herbs that release the exterior. Chen Chen say it is in the wind heat releasing herbs subcategory under the exterior releasing herbs category. And Brown and Wiseman say it is a cool acrid exterior resolving medicinal under the exterior resolving medicinals category. So they all agree, though they have slightly different translational approaches to it, but it's all the same category throughout the three books. That isn't always the case. We've had a few where the categories are different, but here they're all exactly the same. Bensky says it is sweet, bitter, and cold and enters the lung and liver. While Brandon Wiseman says it is acrid and not bitter. So that's interesting. And Chen Chen agrees. So Chen Chen has the same as Bensky. So Brandon Wiseman is the outlier here, which is interesting to me. History. Both Bensky and et al. And Chen Chen say the original source for this herb is the Shendong Bensao Jing, Divine Husbandman's classic of the Materia Medica in the 2nd century CE. We talk about this book a lot. It's an important book. It is the first existing book on Chinese single herbs. So if a single herb is in this book, then it usually is an herb that's been used as long as any other herb in the Chinese tradition. Though we're going to find out that this was in the Shendong Bensao Jing, even though it's in there, it's more of a footnote than anything else. We're going to explain when we get into commentary on this, why that's important in the case there. So keep that in mind as well. Even though it was there, it wasn't one of the main herbs in the Shendong Bensao Jing. Wikipedia discusses the history of this herb tree. Cultivation of white mulberry. By the way, I always want to pull out Wikipedia. You know, I think it's not a horrible source of information, though you always have to kind of double check what it says, I think. But I think it's not bad, but I always want, I try not to use it, but sometimes it is helpful. So when I do put in, I want to talk about, so you guys can weigh the importance of what is about to be said for yourself regarding Wikipedia. So Wikipedia discusses the history of this herb tree. Cultivation of white mulberry to nourish silkworms began more than 4,700 years ago in China and has since been introduced in other countries. The ancient Greeks and Romans cultivated the mulberry for silkworms. At least as early as 220 AD, or we should say CE, Emperor Elagabalus wore a silk robe. It was introduced into other parts of Europe in the 12th century and into Latin America after the Spanish conquest in the 15th century. It has been grown widely from the Indian subcontinent west through Afghanistan and Iran to southern Europe for more than 1,000 years for leaves to feed silkworms. So let's talk about the category here. So herbs that we're going to talk about the overall category, herbs that release the exterior, and then we'll talk briefly about the subcategory. So we have now discussed this category and subcategory of herbs several times during our adventures examining Chinese herbs. And we'll repeat that information here for completeness. So according to Bensky et al., exterior releasing herbs are those that release disorders lodged in the very superficial levels of the body. When external pathogenic factors, including wind heat, wind cold, wind dampness, and summer heat, invade the body, They first attack its superficial exterior aspects. Symptoms associated with the exterior then appear: chills, fever, headache, stiff neck, and general muscle aches. Sometimes sweating will appear, which resolves this condition, in which case no treatment is necessary. At other times, however, there will be an absence of sweating, or even though there is sweating, it is not accompanied by any change in the condition. At this juncture, herbs that release the exterior are used. Most exterior releasing herbs are diaphoretics, that is, they release or expel the external pathogenic influences through sweating. There's a saying in Chinese medicine: when the disease is in the skin, sweating will bring it out. When a disease progresses slightly further into the body, it is said to lodge in the muscle layer. The clinical presentation then includes fever, general body aches, and profuse sweating. At this stage, especially when the patient is sweated without any beneficial change in their condition, it is appropriate to use the subset of herbs that release the muscle layer. The most prominent member of this group is Cinnamomum ramulus, or Gui Zhi, that's cinnamon twig. Some of the herbs that release the exterior have additional functions: stopping coughs and wheezing, controlling pain or spasms, and venting rashes such as measles. So that's an overview of the herbs that release the exterior category. Let's briefly talk about cool acrid herbs that release the exterior. So Bensky continues to discuss the subcategory of cool acrid herbs that release the exterior. Cool acrid herbs are used in treating wind heat patterns with such symptoms as relatively severe fever with mild chills and sore throat. Some of these substances are also effective in venting rashes or treating eye problems due to wind heat. Let's talk about good quality Sāng Yè. Bensky and their team say good quality consists of yellowish green, unfragmented leaves without leaf stalks. So that's great. Bensky always has a section on quality, and they're always very good, but it's usually short. There's a book that is all about this sort of thing, and it's called Chinese Medicinal Identification: An Illustrated Approach by Zhao and Chen. It's actually edited by Brand of Brand and Wiseman, one of our other books that we talk about. Eric Brand, a friend of mine, or at least an acquaintance. And so in that book they say Sāng Yè is often wrinkled, broken. Intact leaves have petioles. After spreading the leaf flat, it has an oval shape or a wide oval shape. It has a brittle texture, a faint odor, and a taste that is bland, slightly bitter, and stringent. Superior medicinal material consists of leaves that are large with a yellowish-green color. Other features include a lower surface with a slightly lighter color and raised leaf veins with small veins appearing net-like. The tip is gradually pointed. The edges are sawtooth, sometimes with irregular cracks. And the upper surface is yellowish-green or light yellowish-brown. So that is an overview of the quality of Sāng Yè. So what does it do? It's Chinese medical actions. So according to Bensky and his team, Sāng Yè disperses and scatters wind heat for externally contracted wind heat and with fever, headache, sore throat, and coughing. Calms the liver and clears the eyes for eye problems due to liver heat from excess wind heat or yin deficiency. Also for vertigo due to ascendant liver yang. Common symptoms include red, sore, dry, or painful eyes or spots in front of the eyes. It clears the lungs and moistens dryness. For lung dryness with cough and dry mouth, or lung heat with thick yellow sputum. And it cools the blood and stops bleeding for mild cases of vomiting of blood due to heat in the blood. Chen and Chen say it dispels wind heat, clears lung heat and moistens dryness, calms the liver and brightens the eyes, and cools the blood and stops bleeding. Brand and Wiseman say it disperses wind heat and clears the liver and brightens the eyes. And Chinese Medicinal Identification Illustrated Approach says it disperses wind heat, clears the lung, moistens dryness, and clears the liver and brightens the eyes. So there you go. That's four of our textbooks, but we also have the Shenao Ben Cao Jing, which has its own functions. Shenao Ben Cao Jing says it eliminates cold and heat and promotes sweating. So that's interesting. All the rest of these are saying it's cooling, if not cold. And this says it eliminates cold and heat, both. Interesting. A footnote in the Shenao Ben Cao Jing says the leaves cool the blood, eliminate wind, dry dampness, blacken the beard and head hair, and brighten the eyes. They're good for eye diseases when used in the form of a decoction to wash the eyes, so you can use it as an eye wash. In addition, they're able to stop night sweats. So there you go. Those are the actions of Sāng Yè. Very interesting herb. Preparations. Sobensky and their team say traditionally the old leaves collected after the first frost are considered the most potent for dissipating wind and cooling heat. These are called winter mulberry leaves, Dong Sāng Yè, frost mulberry leaves, Shuang Sāng Yè, or old mulberry leaves, Lao Sāng Yè. Generally, the best time for a collection of winter mulberry leaves is midway between the autumnal equinox and the winter solstice. Some, however, prefer the tender young leaves of spring, called tender mulberry leaves, or Nen Sāng Yè, or new mulberry leaves, Xin Sāng Yè. It's said that they embody the springtime qi and thereby specifically enter the liver channel where they cool the liver and brighten the eyes. It must be said that at least as good a case could be made for the winter leaves since they embolden the metal qi, which should control liver wood. And because mulberry leaves also enter the lungs, they support that organ's ability to direct downward as a means of controlling the ascending liver qi. So there you go. There are also different preparations. Honey prepared mulberry leaves or mi zhi Sāng Yè, mi meaning honey, zhi meaning prepared or prepared is good. Mi zhi Sāng Yè. Honey is slowly brought to a boil, then the froth and any residual wax or extraneous material is scraped from the surface. The honey is poured through a filter, then returned to the wok and again brought to a boil, maintaining the temperature at 116 to 118 degrees Celsius until the whole wok bubbles and the honey no longer stretches between the fingers. Next, boiling water is added to thin the honey, which is then poured slowly over sliced sections of mulberry leaf and left covered briefly. The leaves are then dry fried at a low temperature until they become deep yellow and are no longer sticky to the touch. This is also called honey mulberry leaves, or mi Sāng Yè, or prepared mulberry leaves, zhi Sāng Yè. Prepared in this manner, while the leaves still retain the ability to dredge wind and clear heat, their moistening action is enhanced so that they can moisten dryness and nourish the lungs in cases of warm dryness accosting the lungs. Continuing on, Chen and Chen discuss preparations as well. Sāng Yè may be taken internally as a decoction or applied topically as an herbal paste. For decoction, Sāng Yè processed with honey has a stronger function to moisten the lung and relieve cough, which is what we just discussed with Bensky and his team. For topical applications, it should be crushed into paste prior to use. And then Brand and Wiseman add it can be decocted as an eye wash. So there you go. I think herbal eye washes can be incredibly useful. This is an incredibly useful herb for eye washes. I would be, of course, concerned about contaminants and processing that to a certain extent, but definitely something that can be done with this herb in particular. Western uses. One source discusses Western uses of white mulberry, including treating diabetes, high cholesterol, and for its antioxidant and anti-inflammatory effects. The White Rabbit Institute of Healing says it lowers cholesterol, regulates blood sugar, and treats digestion, anemia, cancer, diabetes, and gum disease. And the PDR for Herbal Medicines, which is one of my major sources for Western herbs, does not mention this herb at all in that book. Let's do some commentary on this. There's a great commentary from Bensky. Bensky et al., as usual, has an excellent commentary on this herb. Sāng Yè enters the lung and liver channels. It is bitter, sweet, and cold, and light in weight to clear heat and wind from the head and face, disperse lung heat, and cool exuberant liver fire. Overall, this herb is light, cooling, and dispersing, while also being sweet, cold, and moistening. It can disperse wind heat from the exterior, but this effect is rather weak. Its action is more specific to cooling and clearing the lungs and liver. It's often used to treat symptoms as headaches, fever, and cough from externally contracted wind and heat, or dry cough from drying heat injuring the lungs, as well as sore, red, swollen eyes from wind heat or exuberant liver fire. As it cools the liver, Sāng Yè also cools the blood. This action requires a dosage between 15 to 30 grams to be effective, so it needs a large dose. While commonly used for vomiting or spitting up of blood, its gentle moistening nature makes it a frequent choice of gynecologists in the central coastal areas of China as an adjunct herb to stop vaginal bleeding. It is surprising how many of the early Materia Medica texts gave scant attention to Sāng Yè, which is completely overshadowed by the mulberry root bark or Mori cortex Sāng Bai Pi, which is another very useful herb. Until the 17th century, few texts mentioned it at all, and those that did included it as merely a footnote to Mori fructus Sāng Shen or Mori cortex Sāng Bai Pi, all different aspects of the same tree. In the section describing Mori cortex Sāng Bai Pi, the illustrated classic of the Materia Medica, or the Tu Jing Ben Cao from 1061, says the best leaves are those which sprout again in the summer and autumn, then picked after the first frost. So again, we have that frost thing coming up. Boil into soup and wash the hands and feet, as it is particularly effective for painful obstruction from wind. Zhu Dan Shi, as always, favored clinical observation over tradition. In Teachings of Zhu Dan Shi Xin Fa, written in 1481, which is considered one of the big classics of Chinese medicine, he observes green mulberry second growth leaves, dried and powdered, mixed with thin rice water and taken on an empty stomach, is exceptional for stopping night sweats. The Grand Materia Medica, or the Ben Cao Gong Mu, written in 1590, reiterates the indication cited above and adds the following. Sāng Yè is an arm and leg yang brightness channel herb. If the juice is decocted and used as a tea substitute, it can stop wasting and thirsting disorder. It appears that the first major breakthrough for Sāng Yè came in the formula Eliminate Dryness and Rescue the Lungs decoction, or Qing Zhao Jiu Fei Tang, which was published in the book Precepts for Physicians, Yimen Fa Lu, in 1658. The author, Yu Chang, who designed this formula, stressed the importance of Sāng Yè in the formula. Sāng Yè, following the frost, obtains the metal qi of autumn, remaining soft and moist without withering, so it is selected here as the chief herb. Yu Chang's inspiration for this formula seems to have come from an influential clinician and expert herbalist, Miao Shiyang, who lived the century before, and whose list of favorite herbs featured Sāng Yè. In his book, Yu Chang defended Miao against those who criticized his techniques as strange and generally inapplicable. I say it is not this way at all. There are many who suffer from diseases of dryness in the world. Miao Shiyang liked to use moistening prescriptions, and in treating dryness seems to have single-handedly opened a new way of treatment. Ye Tian Shi, in Case Records as a Guide to Clinical Practice, or Linjiang Zhi Nan Yian, written in 1746, gave Sāng Yè considerable exposure, including it in formula after formula. He extended the soft and moist approach to far more than the treatment of parched lungs, prescribing it for a vast array of problems, including exterior patterns, stroke, abdominal swelling, diarrhea, women's diseases, pediatric conditions, and various types of pox. One reason seems to be that Ye Tianshi used Sāng Yè as a liver herb. This is suggested in Materia Medica of Combinations, or De Pei Ben Cao, written in 1761, where it is said to drain excesses of the East. Ye often combined Sāng Yè with chrysanthemum floss, or juhua, to calm the liver, and with mouton cortex, mudan pi, and gardenia fructus, zhi, to cool and clear lesser yang constraint. From that time on, Sāng Yè was accepted as an important part of the Materia Medica. It seems likely that its rise paralleled that of the warm pathogen disease school, the Wenbing Shu. It is also possible to trace its usage to the influence of just 3 individuals. The idea to use it was first attributed to Miao Shi Yang. It was then incorporated into a very influential formula by Yu Chang, and then its scope was further enlarged by Ye Tianshi. Okay, comparisons. Bensky and his team compares this herb to one other. Compare this herb to one other. Mori Ramulus Sāng Yè. So both herbs, so Ramulus is twig, so this is mulberry twig. Both herbs originate from the mulberry, but their effects are quite different. Sāng Yè is best for dispelling wind from the exterior. It focuses on the head and face. Mori Ramulus Sāng Yè has a pointed, thrusting out nature, which enables it to not only cool heat and expel wind, but also to open the collaterals and relieve pain. Mori Ramulus Sāng Yè tends to move into the limbs and is ideal for cooling wind heat in the joints. So that was our one and only comparison. We do have 4 combinations. So Bensky combines this herb with 4 others. So with chrysanthemum floss, or juhua, this is commonly used pair for expelling wind and dispersing heat. It first appeared in the late 18th century work Systematic Differentiation of Warm Pathogen Diseases, or Wenbing Tiaobian, written in 1798, as the formula mulberry leaf and chrysanthemum decoction, or Sāng Ju Yin, which we actually have talked about in Sperm's herbs. The 2 herbs both dispel wind heat in the exterior and act synergistically, especially in early stage wind heat or warm pathogen disease patterns with fever, headache, cough, and sore throat. In addition, this pair is commonly used to cool and calm the liver when patterns of liver channel wind heat or liver fire blazing upward causes such symptoms as red, swollen, painful eyes and watery eyes that are sensitive to light. It is also often used for vertigo and dizziness from ascendant liver yang, with reliable results. So that was our first combination. Our second one is with Armanaceae semen Xingren. This is apricot pit, apricot seed. Sāng Yè is bitter, sweet, and cold, light, clearing, and dispersing, and is good at dispersing wind heat and draining lung heat. Armanaceae semen Xingren is sweet, bitter, and slightly warm. It directs qi downward while also moistening dryness, benefiting the lungs and stopping cough. Together, the lightness of both herbs will disseminate lung qi and disperse the pathogen, while their softness and moistness obviates the usual concerns regarding damage to the yin fluids. Each supports the other. One disseminates and the other directs downward, thus regulating the ascent and descent of lung qi. It is therefore an excellent combination for headache, fever, and dry, non-productive cough and warm dryness exterior patterns, such as those indicated for the formula mulberry leaf and apricot kernel decoction, Sāng Xing Tang. Our third combination is with gypsum fibrosum Shirgao. This is talcum. Gypsum fibrosum Shirgao is acrid, sweet, and cold, and is an important herb for relieving qi level heat from excess, specifically clearing heat from the lungs and stomach. This combination, one herb of which disseminates while the other clears, is very effective in cooling lung metal dry heat. This pairing of acrid cold and sweet cold allows the heat to be cleared without injuring the fluids, which can happen when bitter cold herbs are used. Also, the combination disseminates the lung qi and disperses the pathogen without exhausting the qi. For this reason, the pair is often used for dry, non-productive cough arising from drying heat, injuring the lungs, as in Eliminate Dryness and Rescue the Lungs decoction, Qingzhao Jiao Fei Tang, which we mentioned earlier. Our fourth combination is with sesame semen nigrum or heijia. This is sesame seeds, black sesame seeds. Sesame semen nigrum heijia is sweet, neutral, and rather cloying, so that it nourishes the yin and blood with a strong liver and kidney moistening quality. Sāng Yè cools and calms the liver. This combination treats the blurry vision and dizziness associated with liver and kidney yin deficiency, failing to control ascendant liver yang. Sesame semen nigrum heijia nourishes water and wood, thus treating the root, while Sāng Yè cools the liver fire and calms the liver yang to treat the branch. It is particularly effective if the symptoms include a bitter taste, red eyes, and constipation with dry stools. This combination with these indications first appeared in Precious Mirror for Advancement of Medicine, the Yiji Baojian, written in 1777, where equal parts of frost Sāng Yè and fried sesame semen nigrum heijia are powdered and made into pills with glutinous rice powder, 12 to 15 grams to be taken each day. Let's talk about the contents of Sāng Yè. According to Bensky and their team, the contents of this herb include flavonoids, including rutin and quercetin, triterpenes, including beta-sitosterol, and alkaloids, volatile oils, amino acids, organic acids, coumarins, sugars, and minerals such as copper, zinc, boron, and manganese. Chen and Chen have a very similar list of constituents, and a paper from 2018 says 1-deoxynogeremycin, DNJ, phenolics, and flavonoids are the prominent functional compounds. So let's talk about the science of this herb. According to Chen and Chen, the pharmacological effects of Sāng Yè include being antibiotic, hypoglycemic, and cholesterol lowering. These last two were demonstrated in rats. The first one, the antibiotic, was probably in vitro. It didn't really say where it came from, but it's generally really easy to determine the antibiotic properties by in vitro. They also discuss a couple of clinical studies with Sāng Yè as an injection, in addition to other herbs, which was effective for treating elephantiasis with an N of 1,638. So remember, I always like to include N numbers, and we're looking, that's the number of subjects at a given research. And it's one of the key factors in determining the power of the research. And generally, we're looking for a bare minimum of 30 to 40, which means that you can actually apply population statistics to it. So 1,638 is a good number on this. The problem is that there were more variables. There were injections of Sāng Yè, but there were also herbal formulas involved. So we don't know what was doing what. So don't know if it was Sāng Yè, it was the herbal formula, it was both. We just don't know. The other study, there were two studies, remember. The other study also used injections of Sāng Yè alone. That's all it had in treating psoriasis to positive effect. And here we had an N of 31. So it probably, if it was statistically valid, barely, just not a lot of power in that one, but an interesting approach to things for psoriasis, which is, quite a genetic skin condition. It's not just skin condition, but quite a genetic condition. Upon a literature search, no clinical systematic reviews were discovered. I put in, I tried putting Sāng Yè, but I just got a lot of papers that had Yè as one of the authors of it. So then I put in Mori Folium and reviews and didn't get anything. Drug-herb interactions, the literature search did not find interactions between Sāng Yè and various cytochrome P450 isozymes or P glycoprotein. The American Herbal Products Association's Botanical Safety Handbook puts this herb in interaction class A, herbs for which no clinically relevant interactions are expected. And it seems like that held up quite well. Concerns. Unusually, Bensky et al. Did not note any concerns with Sāng Yè at all. And they have like 3 sections where they usually will put concerns in. So I was shocked they had no concerns. Similarly, Brandon Wiseman do not have any concerns about this herb either. However, Chen did say, due to its cold nature, Sāng Yè should be used with caution for patients who have constitutional deficiencies or cold. And that seems like a quite appropriate caution. And finally, the American Herbal Products Association's Botanical Safety Handbook puts this herb in safety class 1, herbs that can be safely consumed when used appropriately. So I got to be honest with you, this is amongst the safest of the herbs we've discussed. So summary, today we started with our discussion of science and bias. Then we looked at another single Chinese herb, Sāng Yè, Mori Folium, or White Mulberry Leaf. This herb is in the Chinese medical subcategory of cool acrid herbs that release the exterior under the category of release the exterior herbs. It's helpful for certain types of colds and many other uses, including benefiting the eyes and cooling the liver and blood. And it appears to be quite safe. With that, we conclude another deep dive into the exciting depths of a very useful Chinese herb. Our next episode in 2 weeks, we'll be exploring another Chinese herbal formula, Jiu Wei Jiang Huo Tang, or 9-herb decoction with no top pterygium. It is under the subcategory of formulas that release the exterior when cold disorders and is used for treating external attacks, colds, with dampness and internal heat. So interesting. We will be doing our deep dive into this formula, and as usual, we will be adding something a little different. It is going to be another fascinating exploration into the exciting quantum world of herbs. Please power up your mind's tokamak and join us in 2 weeks. I'd like to say thank you very much for joining us today. If you'd like this podcast, please do us a favor, subscribe in your favorite podcast. I mean, even if you just consider subscribing in your favorite podcast, we appreciate it and thank you for it. And don't forget our amazing continuing education deal. That's 50 CEUs for less than half off, and you get a book at www.integrativemedicinecouncil.org. That's /CEUs1. So it's Integrative Medicine Council, COUNCIL.org/CEUS1. And also, haven't talked about it, but we have a deal on 25. If you don't want to do all 50 hours, you can do 25. And there's a great deal on that as well. So you can check that out at the same page. You can always get in touch with me at Dr. Greg at spurbsherbs.com or at our website, www.spurbsherbs.com. That's spurbsherbs, SPERBSHERBS.com. I have to do that because I used to teach in Australia, and anytime I said herbs, I would always, one of the students would raise their hand and say, "Excuse me, professor, do you mean herbs?" And I'm like, "Yes, I meant herbs." And so there you go. So I have to spell out the H so you know. Here's a key for the picture colors. And as usual, we have a bibliography. In this case, these single herbs are a little bit shorter than some of my other ones, but they're good. And thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Spurbs Herbs. The proceeding was presented by Dr. Greg Sperber. We would like to thank Janelle for all her support and everybody else who contributed to this program.
Janelle.
Timothy Dobbins,
Rogers,
Campbell,